Book title: The Science of Being Great. There is a quiet greatness hidden in every human being. You can feel it sometimes, when you dream too big for your surroundings, when your mind whispers that you were meant for more, when your heart rebels against mediocrity and insists that life is not random. It is a calling older than ambition itself, the call to become great. But greatness, as Wallace D. Wattles taught in 1910, is not a privilege of the chosen few. It is a science, a law of being that can be learned, practiced, and proven by anyone who aligns with it. Long before motivational speakers filled stages and seminars promised transformation, Wattles wrote The Science of Being Great, a work that blended divine intelligence with practical action, uniting the seen and unseen, spirit and science. He believed that greatness was not granted by birth, but built through thought, faith, and deliberate living. Welcome to Sethtra Audiobook, where books speak and wisdom lives. If you believe that within you lies a power waiting to be remembered, if you sense that the best version of yourself is not fantasy but destiny, then you are in the right place. Tonight, we will enter the quiet laboratory of the soul, guided by the voice of Wallace Wattles. And perhaps, by the end, you will no longer ask how to be great. You will begin to be. Introduction. Wallace D. Wattles lived during a time of contradiction. The early 1900s promised prosperity through machinery and material progress, yet millions still lived in fear, poverty, and spiritual fatigue. Wattles saw that the problem was not in the lack of opportunity, but in the lack of understanding. People were chasing effects instead of mastering causes. They were building factories without first mastering the factory of the mind. So he wrote a trilogy that would change generations to come: The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Well, and his final, most elevated work, The Science of Being Great. This last book was different. It was not about wealth or health. It was about the divine core of human identity. Wattles believed that man's true power lies in recognizing his unity with the universal mind, the same mind that created galaxies and governs every atom. He called it the presence of God within, not a distant deity, not a judge in the clouds, but the living intelligence that beats your heart and breathes through your lungs. When you realize this truth, he said, you begin to think and act from that higher center, and greatness becomes not something you chase, but something you express. To Wattles, the path to greatness was both spiritual and scientific. Science because it worked by law, not luck. Spiritual because it flowed from the unseen source of all life. His message was not about arrogance or pride. It was about alignment with divine order. You are not a servant of God, he wrote. You are a part of God. And in realizing that, you cease to live small. Part 1. The Divine Blueprint of Greatness. The first lesson in the science of being great is recognition, to see yourself as a being of infinite worth and purpose. Wattles begins with the radical idea that every human soul is a direct expression of divine intelligence, not an accident of biology. You were not born to be average. You were born to advance life, to express more of the infinite through your particular form. He wrote, Man is not made to be a groveling creature, bowed and broken by the weight of circumstance. He is meant to stand upright, to command by thinking rightly. The tragedy of life, Wattles said, is not that people lack opportunity. It is that they doubt their divine origin. They look outward for approval, worship idols of fame and money, and forget that greatness begins with seeing the image of God within themselves. To be great, you must first see greatness, and to see greatness, you must look within, not up. You are not a beggar at the gates of heaven. You are a doorway through which heaven enters the world. The difference between the small and the great is perception. The great person thinks from the center of divine unity. The small person thinks from separation and fear. The great one says, I and the Father are one. The small one says, I am alone. Wattles reminds us that humility is not denial of greatness. It is awareness of source. You do not claim to be the sun. You claim to be its reflection. And when you act from that consciousness, you can do nothing but radiate light. Part 2. The Power of Thought and Faith. Wattles insisted that thought is the first creative act of greatness. To think is to shape reality. To think rightly is to cooperate with divine law. There is no such thing as a small thought, he said, for thought is the original form of power. Every idea held with conviction begins to mold your circumstances. You cannot think one way and live another. The outer world obeys the inner command. Faith, then, is the bridge between thought and form. It is the invisible magnet that draws unseen possibilities into visible fact. But Wattles did not preach blind belief. He defined faith as the confident knowledge that all power is within and that you are one with it. Faith is certainty without sight, conviction without evidence. It is not emotional hope. It is spiritual knowing. In practice, he taught, you must think and believe from the state you wish to create, not toward it. When you think of wealth, health, or greatness as something distant, you reinforce separation. But when you think from the consciousness of already being great, you invite the universe to match your vibration. This is the secret of creative thought, feeling the reality of your desire before it appears. To test this law, begin with something small. Hold a clear mental image of a peaceful day, a successful meeting, a gentle conversation. Feel gratitude as if it has already happened. Then watch how reality arranges itself quietly around that thought. You will begin to see that the universe is alive, intelligent, responsive, and listening. Part 3. The Divine Intelligence Within. Wattles taught that greatness is not achieved by domination or ambition, but by aligning with divine intelligence. You are a channel for the infinite, he said, and the infinite seeks to express itself through you. When you understand this, you stop competing and start creating. You stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I express? He believed that intelligence is the substance of everything, that the same mind that forms stars also thinks through you. Every idea that uplifts humanity originates from this divine wellspring. The secret is receptivity. The more still, clear, and faithful your mind, the more perfectly you transmit this intelligence. Wattles wrote that the truly great person is guided from within, rather than manipulated by circumstance. While others drift between emotions and opinions, the great remains centered, hearing the quiet direction of the inner voice. This voice never shouts, it whispers. It guides through intuition, peace, and clarity. Learning to obey it is the mark of maturity. He warned that we often block divine guidance by worshiping intellect or imitation. Greatness, he said, cannot be copied. You can study the lives of others, but you must live your own inspiration. There is no monopoly on greatness, he declared. The infinite produces new expressions endlessly. Part 4. The Habit of Right Action. Wattles built his science of greatness on 3 pillars: thought, faith, and action. Without action, faith dissolves into fantasy. Without faith, action becomes drudgery. True action flows naturally from the conviction of divine unity. Act where you are, he instructed. Do every day all that can be done that day and do it perfectly. Right action is not frantic effort. It is intelligent motion. It means doing what is necessary with joy and precision. It means serving the divine in every task, whether small or grand. The great person does not despise simple work, for he knows the law. Energy given with love returns multiplied. Wattles warned against waiting for ideal conditions. You cannot grow by standing still, he said. Begin now. The universe favors momentum. When you take the first step, forces beyond your sight begin to move. Opportunities appear, helpers arrive, and paths open. Action is the prayer of the body. It tells the infinite, I am ready. And yet, action must be aligned. If your work contradicts your highest vision, you create friction. Therefore, Wattles urged every seeker to ask, does this action express my greatness or my fear? Choose only what harmonizes with your higher self. When you act from greatness, you multiply it in others. Part 5. The Secret of Personal Growth and Gratitude. In one of his most beautiful passages, Wattles wrote, the grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best. Gratitude is the frequency of greatness. It transforms struggle into opportunity and scarcity into expansion. When you live in gratitude, you align with the creative current of life itself. Personal growth, he said, is not a climb, but an unfolding. Like a flower turning toward the sun, your greatness opens naturally as you appreciate the good already around you. Gratitude trains the mind to notice abundance rather than lack, possibilities rather than problems. It keeps the creative channel open and pure. He also taught that growth is continuous. The truly great person never stops learning, never stops improving the quality of their thought, emotion, and action. Every experience becomes instruction. Every setback becomes fuel. The purpose of life is expansion, and expansion never ends. Gratitude ensures that this process remains joyful instead of painful. In a world obsessed with comparison, gratitude also brings peace. When you give thanks for your unique path, jealousy dissolves. You stop competing and begin cooperating with the flow of creation. Then, even your smallest achievements carry a sacred radiance because they were born from awareness, not ego. Part 6. The Science of Great Living. To Wattles, greatness was not a state of arrival, it was a way of being. The science of great living is the art of expressing divine intelligence through thought, speech, and behavior in every situation. The truly great man or woman carries an invisible atmosphere of calm confidence, quiet power, and compassionate authority. He wrote, "The great person does not strive to be superior to others. He seeks to express more of life." This is the key difference between worldly success and divine greatness. The successful person seeks applause. The great person seeks alignment. The successful builds towers. The great builds harmony. Great living requires consistency. It demands that you bring the same sincerity to every hour, to the morning meditation, the afternoon meeting, the evening silence. To live greatly is to let every moment reveal your inner divinity. The result is not perfection, but peace. A peace that radiates outward, uplifting all it touches. When you meet such a person, you feel it instantly. Their presence steadies the air. They do not preach, they emanate. This is the ultimate science, to live as the channel through which the infinite creates beauty in the finite world. Closing summary. So what is the science of being great? It is the conscious partnership between the individual and the infinite. It is the practice of right thinking, unshakable faith, grateful living, and perfect action. It is realizing that greatness is not something to chase, it is something to remember. The divine lives in you, speaks through you, acts by you. Wattles' message, though over a century old, sounds more modern than ever. In a time of noise and imitation, his voice reminds us that true success is spiritual clarity in motion. "You can be great," he wrote, "because you are part of greatness itself." Ending message. Books like The Science of Being Great are not mere teachings, they are awakenings. They do not ask you to believe, they ask you to remember. Tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine not what you want to have, but what you are meant to be. Feel the quiet greatness rising in you, the calm power, the steady confidence, the silent knowing that you are already divine in form. If this journey stirred something within you, you are not alone. You have found your tribe, seekers of light, students of the unseen, builders of truth. You are listening to Sethtra Audiobook, where books speak and wisdom lives. Each week, we resurrect timeless voices like Wattles, Hanel, and Seneca so that you may remember who you truly are. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe that greatness begins within. Because the next voice we uncover may just be your next awakening. And remember, the science of being great is already alive in you. All you must do is live it.